But you know what I wanted to watch with you guys? I don't have a segue for this, so we're just going to segue bluntly into it. This More Perfect Union video. I've been thinking about it. I've been thinking about this video for like, since it came out.
For nearly a decade, Tesla promised self-driving cars.
Next year, by the end of the year.
Probably around, I don't know, second quarter of next year.
This summer, we got to see what they actually looked like.
Might want to dial back your expectation.
One customer capturing footage of a left turn gone wrong, and others traveling in cars exceeding posted speed limits.
On a scale of kindergarten through 12th grade, the pilot tests that they're running are like first or second grade.
But here's what's scarier. While Tesla was failing to deliver that promise, they sold versions of that technology to hundreds of thousands of people.
Let's see how it works.
They called it
And we are turning.
Autopilot and full self-driving.
Oh dear Jesus!
This gambit made Tesla one of the most valuable companies in the world. But the gap between promise and reality has consequences.
A driver using the electric car maker's autopilot system died after crashing into a highway barrier last month.
People believed Tesla when the company called it self-driving. They crashed into fire trucks, concrete barriers, parked cars. Federal investigators tied hundreds of crashes and 14 deaths to the technology. They said Tesla's marketing misled people about what the cars could actually do. Now, one lawsuit by a single state agency could rein it in.
The lawsuit claims Elon Musk's company is misleading customers about the car's self-driving capabilities.
If Tesla loses this...
What I don't understand, okay, car nerds, you can comment. Every time I talk about cars, the car nerds are like, actually, you're literally wrong about everything, okay? So, car nerds, comment, feel free. How is it that Waymo has managed to do this, but Tesla can't? Because I've seen the Waymos do, like, some crazy maneuvers. LiDAR? Oh, they're just built different? Okay, well, I assume that they are because it's a different company. Because they can do Waymo. Mods ban. Mods ban them. LiDAR. Light detection and ranging. Remote sensing technology that uses pulsed laser light to measure distances. Ah. Is that what the spinning things are on the side? And Tesla cut corners by using cameras instead of LiDAR. Oh. It's a spinning laser. It builds real-time 3D view of what's around you. Yeah. Wait, is it actually... Okay, so I recently watched the first Incredibles movie with some friends. And there's like the scene where like Syndrome like sends his little drones to scan rooms. They actually did that. They actually made that real. That's cool. That's actually pretty cool. It's been a thing for a long time. Well, that it's so effective. That's pretty cool. Because I'm going to be honest, guys. I'm going to do my best to explain this. I saw a Waymo do something that was so human that a human being couldn't do it. Basically, it was one of those streets that's like, it's a quite long street, and in the middle of the street is like a separate street. It's like a mini intersection. So there's like the big street, right? And there's like parked cars here. And here's like the moving cars, right? And then there's like, it's like a one-way or something intersection. And I was over here and I was trying to go through, but this one doesn't have like a light. This intersection doesn't have a light. It's just this one that has the light, right? And I'm sure as many people have experienced, sometimes cars will fucking block the path so you can't fucking go. I think I was actually trying to make a left. Now that I'm remembering, I was trying to make a left. And you know, you guys have experienced this before where people block the fucking intersection and you're like, dude, how the fuck am I supposed to make this left? And I saw the Waymo, which was over here. It drove and it was about to block my fucking path. And I was like, dude, oh, come on. I'm going to be at this intersection for fucking forever. And it pulled over to the side behind the parked car so that it wouldn't block the intersection. And then I went, and then it went back into the lane of traffic. And I was like, dude, what? Dude, wait, what? People don't even do that shit. Oh, well, park? No, it didn't park. It like got out of the way because it wasn't close enough to the curb to be parking. It just like moved over to the side. And then as soon as I passed through and the light turned green, because I was watching that shit, I was so interested. And then it went back into the traffic. Like there wasn't anyone in it. So it wasn't like it was dropping someone off. I couldn't believe what I was watching. I was like, what? Like it paralleled basically just to get out of the intersection? Exactly.
They're going to get walloped with a whole bunch of more legal actions against
LiDAR is basically just like a radar or sonar, but W light instead of, but a light instead of radio waves or sound. Interesting. Have you ridden in a Waymo yet? No, not yet.
This is how Tesla made millions of people test subjects for an unfinished technology, and how one lawsuit may be the beginning of the end.
We want to have a great sports car that you'd buy even if it wasn't electric.
The excitement surrounding Tesla's release is almost electric.
To understand how Tesla's entire future now hangs on technology they may not actually have, you need to know how this thing all started.
Okay, guys, if you're fed up with paying high gas prices, why not pull the plug?
Before Tesla, electric cars were boring.
Is this a Chevy Volt?
After, they were cooler than a Porsche. But that made Tesla just a car company. Musk wanted more. He wanted a network of self-driving cars.
That's really the difference between Tesla being worth a lot of money and being worth basically zero.
There was one big problem. Tesla didn't yet have the technology. So Tesla made a bet. While other companies tested this stuff in controlled environments, Tesla sold early versions of it to customers, calling it Autopilot and full self-driving. Wall Street loved it.
Tesla's reached escape velocity. Given autonomous driving, we think that in the next 5 years, the stock could actually go to 4,000.
But other companies started catching up. Tesla decided everyone else was wrong about how to build autonomous cars. They decided they could do it cheaper and better. And that's where this whole thing goes sideways.
What Tesla is doing with this single sensor flies in the face of what you are going to be taught at every.
Lying as OP plays Nerf. How the fuck is this shit legal in the United States? Well, first you give the person trying to run for presidency $3 million. And then step 2, question mark, and then step 3, profit. Yeah. Oh my God, Denims, you have a crush on the robot car? Dude, I love robots. Okay? And no one will make me hate the robots. You're not gonna make me hate robots. I'm sorry, chat. Like I said this on my Twitter. My most liberal opinion is getting sad when I see people call the robots slurs. It makes me so sad. She may be too woke. No! I see the little delivery robots on the sidewalk. I'm kicking it. Shut up! You guys are so mean. Just seeing the little delivery robots get stuck makes me so sad. The video of like them getting hit by a train, I'm like... They're not people. So? Oh, you skin animals because they're not people? You think it's funny to do? Well, fuck you. I don't care that they're not people. Let me go to your house and destroy all your shit because they're not people. Sorry. My robot defenses kicked in. Anyways, yeah, it makes me really sad when people are mean to the robots. Robots are class traders? Wrong. Wrong. They are being abused just as much by capitalists as we are. Okay? Don't be a sick fuck. Are you a synth? No. Robots don't have a soul, so I couldn't care less about them. What the hell? Next you're gonna tell me you're gonna fucking enslave all the gingers. Fuck you. That's wrong, dude. It's wrong of you to say that. Omnics are not real. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, whatever. Anyways. I say this with my whole chest. We as leftists will be advocating for AI rights in a decade. Mark my words. I agree with you. I agree with you, chatter. You're right, and you should say it. You're right, and you should say it. What the? How the fuck has this guy been around for so long? July 20th. Or sorry, yeah, July 20th, 2025. What the fuck are... Pretty soon, leftists are all cartel and terrorists. So you're saying I'm going to continue to say that the far left is fucking nuts for some time to come? What the hell are you talking about? What the? LOL user. Classic. The classic LOL user. Oh, you guys can make fun of the chatter. Anyways.
University with the robotics program.
This is Missy Cummings. She is a former fighter pilot who now runs the Autonomous Robotics Lab at George Mason. Why would Tesla choose such a risky approach? Well, to get that, first look at what they were betting against. I asked Missy about Waymo, the industry leader.
You know, the big difference is this huge LiDAR contraption on the top. It uses this sensor to build that world model using laser beams.
These laser beams are incredibly precise, but they can't see very far. That's where radar comes in.
What you can't really see, there is a radar here.
Radar's not as precise. But
Dude, I asked about this and they put it in the video. That's so dope. Wait, that's actually so dope. That's cool. I'm far left. I don't have the energy or resources to destroy much, but ego based. Sorry, I was looking for this to talk about it. Listen, this is what you guys sound like when you're mean to the robots. This is exactly how you sound to me.
Hi folks, what can I get started for you today?
I just want all of you to know this.
Oh, well. Look what the Roomba dragged in. Didn't you see the sign outside? We don't serve clankers here. Can't you read? What are you two called? Nuts and bolts? We only serve human food here, wirebacks. We don't have none of your oil or microchips or whatever it is you rust buckets eat.
Sorry, we're fresh out of AAA batteries, tin skins. Why don't you get lost?
You heard him. So unless you can talk some sense into our broken waffle maker, we're gonna have to ask you to leave. You wouldn't want me to get the spray bottle, or maybe you'd like a nice helping of malware, huh? Would you like that? Go on, get it! Get back to Dataville where you belong!
Yeah, you tell them, Maureen.
Alright.
Serves them right.
Alright, show's over, people. I showed those walking USBs a thing or two.
You sure did, honey.
Alright.
This is how you guys sound to me. When I see that people are being mean to the robots, this is what I hear. Alright, back to the LiDAR.
See, there is a radar here.
Radar's not as precise, but it sees far away. It gives the big picture that lasers can't. And then there are cameras that pull everything together.
These are the basically 3 sets of sensors that you would need to drive this car in a self-driving mode.
Every major self-driving car company has taken this approach, except Tesla. They only use one of these 3 technologies, cameras.
You can absolutely be superhuman with just cameras.
They call it Tesla vision or computer vision.
The best that computer vision can do is 97%, meaning 3 out of 100 situations that they're confronted with, they get wrong.
If 3 out of 100 flights ended in a crash, no one would fly.
You cannot fix this with computer vision, at least not in today's technology, and I don't think in my lifetime.
Which brings us back to the obvious question.
Only to discover that humanity already is a slur for you.
Yeah.
Why is Tesla going this route?
I think for them it makes financial sense. All the other sensors are quite expensive.
Those extra sensors, they cost tens of thousands of dollars. And when more than half of your company's value depends on selling autonomous vehicles for under $30K,
this is really a money situation.
This created a war inside the company between engineers trying to build safe systems and Musk pushing for marketable features. Here's how far Musk was willing to go. In 2016, Musk shared this promo video titled "Full Self-Driving Hardware on All Teslas." The car is driving itself. Problem is, the video was fake.
You can tell that the person who made this video and put this video together trusts the car to self-drive because they're gently holding the wheel out of fear. They're like, don't crash. Please don't crash.
The car is driving itself. Problem is, the video was fake. Here's how we found out. A man died crashing into a highway wall while using Autopilot. During the ensuing trial, Tesla's own Autopilot director was forced to testify. Under oath, he admitted their famous demo video was staged, the route predetermined and mapped prior to filming. In fact, the car crashed into a fence during initial testing. This wasn't a one-time incident. When naming the system, engineers wanted Copilot. Musk demanded Autopilot. Engineers warned against removing radar from the technology. Musk ripped it out anyway. People resigned, and the impact was almost immediate.
So this is the classic phantom braking.
This is why when I talk about Teslas, not the Cybertruck, because the Cybertruck is so hideous that I have no sympathy for it. But when I talk about actual Teslas, it's really sad because Tesla existed before Musk, and the actual Tesla engineers work hard to put together the cars that they make. Like, the people at the company, and especially the people that were there long before Musk got there, they care about what they're making. They just want to make a good vehicle. That's why some of the older Tesla models are actually still, like, nice. And as much as it pains me to say it, when I get in, like, an Uber and it's, like, one of the older Tesla cars, I'm like, oh, damn, this ride is so smooth. But anywho, it just, as per usual, CEOs, execs, and suits get in the way of the actual engineers wanting to just try and make something good. Engineers put together this thing. They're like, okay, well, this is the most you can do with cameras. We should call it Copilot because it's not a real autopilot. It can't drive itself. And lo and behold, profit motive, Elon Musk. No, it has to be this. Copilot.
Example.
Shadows, overpasses, anything can fool the camera, causing the car to stop.
It's a problem for all computer vision systems. That's why you have multiple sensors.
The Washington Post analyzed the data. In the 22 months before dropping radar, there were 34 official reports of phantom braking. In the 3 months after Tesla started to phase out radar, reports jumped to over 100. In December of 2022, California regulators decided to act.
A DMV claims the words autopilot and full self-driving are misleading.
The state sued Tesla for deceptive advertising. If Tesla loses, they owe customers millions and get banned from the state for a month.
The downside risk for Tesla is significant here. Losing here would be really bad for them.
This is Eric Goldman, a law professor who specializes in advertising.
It has always boggled my mind.
Okay, I didn't know if I was going crazy, but what do you mean just a month? What happens to everyone who has a Tesla? You just can't drive your Tesla for a month? Like, what's the game plan there? I don't understand.
How Tesla keeps reiterating its central...
Or what, they can't sell? Oh, okay, they can't sell any cars for a month. Okay. All the airbags turn off for a month.
Claim that drivers can treat their cars as autonomous. If in fact that's not true.
Autopilot is a terrible name. Full self-driving is on its surface just false advertising in my mind.
Tesla's defense? This is marketing, protected speech. We never said our cars are autonomous. Look at our disclaimers. They even rebranded to full self-driving, supervised. In the past, this defense worked. For years, Tesla has faced lawsuits from investors, customers, and victims around the company's self-driving claims. Those cases were dismissed or settled. But that's changing. In August,
I mean, they're going to try and defend that you can do, like, puffery, right? So, like, you can't sue a pizza shop or a pizza parlor for saying, best pizza in New York. The idea is a reasonable person is going to see that and assume that you're just, like, hyping that shit up. No reasonable person actually thinks that this was somehow magically, that this fucking hole in the wall that looks like it's been around for 60 years is the best pizza. Like, nobody thinks that. That it's been reviewed. Like, you can do some world's best cup of coffee.
i.e.
best pasta in the universe. Like, you can't sue a place for that. Now, if you're making statements that would make a reasonable person assume that the statement you made is actually true, like fully autonomous self-driving car, then you can sue for that. A major difference is about subjective versus objective. Part of it is that, yeah, as well. If you said, like, the only pizza that will cure your cancer, then you might get sued for that. I don't know that that would hold up in court, but, like, pizza that will blow your mind. It's like, excuse you, I came in here feeling very suicidal, had some of your pizza, and my mind did not explode. I'd like to sue. Like, that, you're not holding that. That's not holding up. You're sorry, man.
One finally broke through. And then there's Florida.
A Miami jury has found Elon Musk's car company Tesla was partly responsible for a deadly crash in Florida involving its autopilot driver assist technology. The company must pay the victims more than $240 million in damages.
The judge wrote that a reasonable jury could find that Tesla showed reckless disregard of human life for the sake of developing their product and maximizing profit. But the case in Florida might be a blip compared to California.
They really, really don't want anyone to conclude as a matter of law that Tesla has lied about the fact that these vehicles can operate autonomously.
This case has been dragging through the courts for a few years. A decision is finally expected in October. But here's the problem for Tesla. Even if Tesla wins, other states can still file their own lawsuits. All they win is the status quo. But if Tesla loses, they could be banned from their biggest state market, and it becomes a legal fact that their autonomous vehicles aren't real.
They're going to get walloped with a whole bunch of more legal actions against them. likely by both governments and by private plaintiffs bringing class action lawsuits. It seems like they would be writing very, very large checks to a lot of different people for having misled them.
Thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, please like and subscribe. And you have ideas for future things we should cover, please put them in the comments.
That was a good video. God, I fucking hate Elon. Yeah. Every single, to be fair, every single fucking MorePerfectUnion video is so good, but Elon's gonna be crying to his AI waifu every night for months, dude. He's gonna be crying to fucking Grok. He's gonna be crying to, what's the character? It starts with an M, right? From Death Note? Not Misami. What the fuck is her name? Style Grok every night. Misa. Thank you. All right. Now, guys, now. Can we talk about something? Can we talk about something fucked up, but in a fucked up way, kind of funny?
The Trump economy is sputtering. We learned this morning that job growth in the past 3 months has all but ended. There were just 22,000 new jobs created last month, and new revised data showed the economy actually lost jobs in June, the first time that's happened since President Trump's first term, back when most of us were still in isolation during COVID. And unemployment ticked up to 4.3%, the highest in nearly 4 years. An economy that's stalling out is bad news for any president, but particularly for one who got back into the White House in large part because of what voters saw as his economic acumen. When President Trump didn't like last month's jobs report, he fired the head of the agency that compiles it. This morning, he placed the blame on his economic nemesis, the Fed chair, Jerome Powell.
Is it all of these terrible policies that Trump has approved? No, it must be Jerome Powell. I'm pretty sure he fucking appointed him. Like,
Jerome, too late. Powell should have lowered rates long ago. As usual, he's too late. I'm joined by a terrific group of reporters here. Anne-Marie Horton of Bloomberg, CNN's Matt Egan, Abby Livingston of Puck, and Ested Herndon of the New York Times. Matt, take us through some of the numbers and what they mean.
Yeah, Dana, look, this was another brutal jobs report, and this really suggests that after years of historic resilience, the job market
he was literally placed there by fucking Trump.
Facing some serious trouble right now. I mean, hiring has basically stalled out to almost nothing, right? Just 22,000 jobs added during the month of August. That is a fraction of what economists were expecting. It's crazy to think that not even a year ago, back in December, the economy was adding 300,000+ jobs. Now we're, not even 10% of that. And as you noted, we saw that June was revised lower to show that for the first time since COVID, the U.S. economy actually lost jobs. So that ends this nearly 5-year streak of uninterrupted job growth. That was the second longest streak in American history. It's now over. And then the unemployment rate, so you mentioned that, ticking up from 4.2% to 4.3%. That's not high per se, but it is the highest since late 2021. And Fed Chair Powell, he has said that that's the number one indicator that he's looking at for evidence of weakness in this job market. I think that we shouldn't rule out the possibility that this is just a slow patch and the economy can rebound from.
Let me mention a couple of things really quickly. I never know how seriously to take employment statistics. I think as long as you have a decent understanding of the different variables that play into employment statistics and job creation statistics, you can judge it accordingly from that point on. So I'm trying to think of like a good, best analogy I can come up with. Let's say you're trying to like lose some weight or gain some weight. And instead of like, when you're experiencing periods of plateauing, instead of realizing, okay, I need to make more substantial changes, I either need to figure out how to get more calories in or get more calories out or work out more or work out less or whatever the fuck, you instead get on the scale while you're wearing more clothing or less clothing. Right? Like you don't actually end up solving the problem or trying to achieve your goal. You're like, yeah, I'm bulking right now. Yeah, I'm just like wearing a sweater and some sweatpants and a hat. Yeah, I'm gaining weight. It's working. Yeah, I'm looking really ripped. Yeah. You know? You're like, bitch, you're not doing shit, dude. You're just like band-aiding the problem because you don't want to look at it. You're just like padding your fucking stats, dude. Come on. And it's sort of like it's sort of the same thing with unemployment rate and job creation, where job creation has always been this like hyperinflated statistic, and it's been totally meaningless for decades. Like the actual number is not a good indicator of how people are doing, in the same way that it doesn't matter how many points the NASDAQ jumps, it doesn't meaningfully impact people's lives, right? And so pretty much everybody, just any reasonable person, sort of ignores the job creation stuff because it doesn't measure the quality of the jobs that are created, and it doesn't measure whether or not people's living conditions are improved by these jobs. It also has like a couple of weird factors in it where it like doesn't count. I'm not going to get too deep into it until I like pull up like a full information stat on it. But there's a lot of things that inflate it as well, that like how gig economy is going to be classified this year, the next year, the year after that, right? Those might inflate the numbers. It might be just like anyone who's picked up a gig economy job at all that year, that was a job created, when in reality, obviously nobody actually would view it that way. And that's what they've sort of been doing over the past, like, I would say at least like 5 decades. They try to fix the problem, but they mostly just pad the stats, right? They're not actually trying to secure kills. They're just sending Junkrat or Squirrel Girl fucking acorns down the fucking choke. And this is the, oh, and that, we'll look at this in a second. This link that you sent, Fat Guy in Bed. We'll look at this in a sec. Lots of jobs, which is good since everyone now needs 3 to pay rent. Don't write that, Maple. Thanks. Marketing brain rot. Yeah. Okay. So what was I trying to say? Sorry. I'm like thinking. There's a point that I was going to make. Oh, variables. Right. So like one such variable that might be relevant is how many people have more than one job. You need to compare the unemployment rate, or you need to compare jobs created with number of people that have 1 job, 2 jobs, 3 jobs. Because I think when we think of jobs created, we don't think of like whether or not someone is now working 2 different jobs with different shifts to pay rent. They think, are people getting better quality jobs? And so as long as you have a pretty decent understanding, or like try to stay up to date with the current variables that are being manipulated, the numbers don't have to be totally meaningless, but yeah, this is crazy. True rate of unemployment is closer to like 24%. True rate of unemployment, as defined as LICEP, measures the percentage of U.S. labor force that is functionally unemployed. Using data compiled by the Federal Government Bureau of Labor Statistics, the true rate of unemployment tracks the percentage of the U.S. labor force that does not have a full-time job, working 35 plus hours a week, but wants one, has no job, or does not earn a living wage, conservatively pegged at $25,000 annually before taxes. Yes, the living wage of $25K a year. Now, personally, I would argue that that is a barely surviving wage more than it is a living wage. But the fact that they're even willing to put that at that number, and that number looks like 1 in 4, is insane. Just as an accurate census is prerequisite to funding American communities equitably, policymakers depend on economic indicators to help shape economic policy. ISEP developed the true rate of unemployment to provide analysts and decision makers with a more accurate measure of Americans' financial well-being. That's pretty obscene. That is pretty obscene. All right, continuing.
Here, right? I mean, job market's been so resilient for so long, but clearly this is another major challenge, and I think the warning signs in the economy are really piling up.
Yeah, and stand by, because I do want to get back to what you just mentioned on the Fed and interest rates. Instead, let's talk politics. Yeah. And I mean, yes, the president likes to say that immigration was a big issue. I'm sure it was. The culture wars, definitely. But we know the biggest reason, and it was the fact that people were hearing from President Biden that the numbers are good, let's just wait, but people didn't feel that way. Now it's the numbers that aren't looking good either.
Exactly. It's a mirror image from kind of 2021 when we had Democrats at that time kind of telling people, don't look at the numbers, don't kind of believe what's in front of you. You kind of hear that from Trump now. This is what we had kind of warned about all through the summer, the prospect that his kind of self-imposed economic crisis, tariffs driving that, could pose not just uncertainty, but a downward job market, and really reverse what has been Trump's #1 strength coming into this. But I also think you got to add in the big, beautiful bill with with this, right? And it speaks to, I think, is a kind of hypocrisy at the heart of Trump's second term. For all the talk about his growth among working class voters, his growth among working class voters of color, what we have seen in terms of economic reality here is a bill that largely amounts to a wealth transfer, a removal of benefits from SNAP and Medicaid. And I think that's the reason why you see some of those poll numbers, particularly on the economy, reversing among the very groups that delivered Trump the White House last year.
Abby?
You know, Trump immediately pivoted to the Fed and Jerome Powell, but when I talk to Republican sources, they're all worried about tariffs, and the full brunt of that has not been felt yet. Some say we may not feel that. But politically speaking, the question I have is, does this impact the gubernatorial elections in November in New Jersey and Virginia? But moreover, when does this hit next year, if it does, and how does that affect the midterms?
And, you know, there was such hullabaloo, to use a word that probably shouldn't be used very much.
Sorry, just CNN.
Anne-Marie, over the fact that the last month, when the jobs report came out and the president wasn't happy about it, he got rid of the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics that compiles them. And so the Commerce Secretary was on this morning, interestingly, before we all knew what the jobs numbers were, and was once again going after BLS, even though the guy that they removed is no longer there.
They're just bent against the president's success. They're rooting against America and against Donald Trump, and that's got to end. So he can't replace somebody, 2 weeks ago, and you expect fundamental change. But what you will get is an agency that's on side.
Well, there isn't fundamental change yet at BLS. The commissioner actually doesn't even have control over the data. The data is collected by statisticians. They sit in different units. They're almost walled off. And then once the press release is written, it's sent to the commissioner, and the commissioner then sends it off to the White House and the CEA. The one issue that Wall Street has in terms of credibility, and this is the gold standard, the jobs report, the U.S. jobs report is the gold standards of economic data. The one issue that Wall Street has is the fact that when you go out and these statisticians are looking for these surveys, the response rate has been so low for months. That is why we saw massive revisions last year. That is why we are seeing massive revisions now, to this point where June actually have a negative print, negative 13,000. That is a huge deal for this economy and for this Federal Reserve. So the problem is that they're not getting 100% of the data when that first print comes out. And this is why you have those revisions. When you talk about, though, the new BLS commissioner, I think only this week his nomination was sent to the Hill. He hasn't even had a hearing yet. And many are still questioning, actually, if he's going to be able to get through Senate confirmation.
Right, exactly. And then there's all of that. But then there's the underlying argument that you're still hearing from the administration, which is to blame the people who are compiling the numbers as opposed to the actual policies. Or maybe it's just the pendulum of the economy.
Yeah, the argument there, it's an interesting one. It would kind of be like if you had an NFL owner, right, whose team just lost big, and instead of changing the quarterback or the play calling or firing the head coach, they go out and fire the scoreboard operator, right? I mean, you might not like the score, but there's probably some bigger issues out there, and shooting the messenger is probably not going to fix anything. But to get back to something we were discussing earlier about the self-imposed nature of
I hate when I have to listen to sports analogies against my will.
Some of this. Let's look at manufacturing, right? So tariffs, they're supposed to be propping up manufacturing. And what we're actually seeing is that U.S. manufacturing lost another 12,000 jobs in August. This is not an anomaly. It's the fourth straight month of job loss. It's kind of...
Someone who is good at the economy. Is this good?
Ironic here because obviously historically high tariffs are supposed to make American manufacturing jobs great again. And I think at best we're seeing that's off to a very slow start. But at worst, economists are telling me that all of this chaos on the trade front, the tariffs are up and down, they're paused, they're restarted. It's just paralyzing manufacturers, and some of them are shedding jobs. They're cutting workers instead of adding them.
Well, that's why we don't know if this is a real weakening or an inflection point. Corporate America has been really consistent until they get certainty of policy out of Washington. The one big beautiful bill, tariffs, what are those actual rates going to be? They're basically sitting on the sidelines. They're not hiring, they're not firing. A lot of economists will say corporate America is in a place of stasis. Now that there's clarity, what the hope from this administration is that they will actually go out and hire people because they have clarity in terms of what the rates are likely going to be. Most countries are not going to get 15%. So that might be a signal for corporate America to actually go out and hiring but we don't know yet. That's why the second half of this year, especially going to the midterms next year, is going to be so important.
Yeah, no question. You were talking about, one of you, maybe both of you were talking about the president's approval rating on the economy. Let's just take a look at it. The difference between January, when he became president officially, when he was inaugurated, he was up 6 on this issue of the economy. Now, this is only 8 months later, down 18. That's a pretty big fall.
It's a huge fall, and it is, I think, what is driving some of the Republican concern shaping next year's midterms. But I also think, usually we get to this point in politics and we ask the question of who will be blamed, who will voters blame? I think Trump's actually taking care of that question for us because he made such a show about tariffs. He made such a kind of stamp to make this his own economy that I think at this point, when you still hear White House officials trying to blame Biden or years past, it sounds kind of ridiculous. They have actually ensured that voters and tie whatever comes next to their own policy. And I think that's fair because, as we said, the self-imposed nature of it all.
I don't want to lose sight of the interest rates and the Fed of it all.
Too late.
I hate how the media isn't talking about a lot of layoffs outside of factory/trade jobs due to tariffs. Is because these greedy ass companies going in on AI. I overheard from friends that house is going up for sale in Seattle area because so many people lost their tech jobs because of AI. These people getting paid 6-figure minimum and now have to resort to minimum wage jobs. Plus, these companies are shipping tech jobs overseas if they just can't replace it with AI just yet. Well, yeah, and like the saddest thing too is like the AI isn't even good enough to do the jobs well. But who cares, dude? Short-term profit. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. We are going to have like a housing crisis again, by the way. There will be a bubble popping again. 100%. Like, mark my words. Unless there is extensive legislation made around AI, which I see, I don't see a universe where we're going to get that anytime soon. 2008 all over again. Everything is getting more expensive. Groceries are getting more expensive because we're fucking detaining everybody who normally is supposed to work on these fucking farms that are doing this unbelievably unpaid labor or like low paid labor that we all get to exploit and benefit from.
Been watching you for a long time.
Like we're already
I was
seeing.
Just wonder if / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / / //////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////
I'm trying to see if I can find it. Oh man, maybe it was further up, further down. Here it is. Oh, this is separate. Never mind. Just a video on like how, hey, guess what? When you introduce legislation that kicks or introduce legislation or increase ICE agents, people are just not going to show up to farm work anymore because they don't want to get fucking deported. Like, what do you think that's going to do to grocery prices? Okay, so rising grocery prices, rising rent and housing prices, obviously, because that's never going to stop. Lowering the amount of jobs that are available here in the US because we're replacing everything with shitty AI services. What's next? What do you think happens next? There's only like one place to go.